Thank you, Professor Dalko, for that very kind introduction. And I'll try to do justice to it. Of course, also to the honor of being here with you, with all the faculty and staff. Patrick, who invited me, thank you for that. And of course, all the guests. But let me turn now to the people this is all about. Dear graduates, how are you? I thought so. Congratulations. Congratulations, you are now officially a master. You made it. Well done. You know, this is really a turning point in your life. You came from all over the world. I've been told 93 countries, but I can actually see it from all the flags. And by the way, is there anyone here from Belgium? Yeah, not too many. How about Venezuela? All right. I thought so. My wife is from Venezuela, and I know she always wins. Anyway, you all came from far, and for a very long time, those and your loved ones have been working very hard towards this goal. And I know you made many sacrifices. So when you're done, have another look at that diploma. I know, pick it up first, right? Give each other a big hug and go high-five your teachers, maybe, because what you did is amazing. Until then, I want to offer you 7 lessons I learned along the way and that I want to share now with you. They are 2 don'ts and 5 do's, okay? So bear with me. There's a personal story behind these lessons, and I'd like to start with that. After I got my master's degree here in the United States, I wasn't actually quite sure which direction to take my life in, and I think I made a couple of not so great choices. I accepted a job in New York. It looked great on paper, and it also paid very well, but it wasn't for me. Luckily, along the way, I met someone who helped me hit the reset button. I worked as a freelance journalist on the side. I'll tell you more about it. And I got to interview Paul Bulcke, who is the CEO of Nestlé, the largest consumer goods firm in the world. I met him in Switzerland at his office at Lake Geneva. It's a fantastic place. I recommend you go. But instead of using my time with him to talk about Nestlé's stock market performance or the latest food scandal to hit it, I talked about life with him. And he offered me some great advice. He said, don't rush your career and don't try to become CEO. There's many other goals in life, he said, and when you look back at it, those will turn out to be much more rewarding. It's not worth to run the rat race. He didn't realize it, but with those words, he actually changed my life. So I let the message sink in. I ultimately quit my job in New York. I returned to Europe, and I went looking for more people like him, people who could advise me on what to do on the journey of life while having a business career. And I ended up writing a book about it. The book is called Before I Was CEO, and it really kickstarted my career. Come to think about it, I should have probably called it Before They Were CEO, right? Because I never was one. So Patrick and Professor Dalko, I hope you didn't invite me because you thought I was a CEO, because I wasn't. Anyway, let me share these 7 lessons with you now. Remember, 2 don'ts and 5 do's. And I'll start again with those 2 don'ts that I already briefly mentioned. First, as you get into the job market, which you all are right now, don't rush, okay? I know we're all eager to climb the corporate ladder, and I was too when I started my career back in Brussels at Bain & Company. We wanted to become partner in 10 years and make a lot of money. But is that really worth it? I mean, shouldn't we enjoy the way up a little bit more? There's one person who taught me that lesson as well, besides Paul Bulcke. It is Patrick de Masnere. And he's got the distinction of not having led 1, but 2 Fortune 500 companies. The first is Adecco, it's the largest HR services company in the world. And the other one is Barry Callebaut. It's the largest chocolate maker in the world. And as you can imagine, I like meeting with him because he always asks chocolates, and he actually can get you a job too. Anyway, a boss of his once told him, Patrick, I'm not going to give you your promotion, even though you deserve it, because if you keep on going up like a rocket, one day you're going to fall down like a stone. It's much better to build solid foundations than to try and push things. At my own job, I see that too. The pushers may get their promotions quicker, and sometimes they do, as a matter of fact, but they also come and go, and sometimes they stumble. And when these people stumble, there's no one there to catch them. On the other hand, if you rise steadily and make friends along the way, you almost always get further in the long run. Now, that doesn't mean you have to get pushed around, I would say. When you deserve a raise, ask for it. And if you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick, have a chat with your manager. Agree on the goals in your career, the milestones, and if they don't come around, quit or look for something else. But if they do come around, then be patient. Stay. Don't rush. Second, as you chart your career, don't try to become a CEO. Now, I can already see a couple of people looking at me like, Peter, why would you write a book about how to become CEO and then tell us not to try and become CEO? Well, I guess that's fair, but the point here is you just shouldn't want it too much. And Paul Bilke, he made that point very well to me. He said, Peter, your career will last at least 4 decades, if not more. And usually, if you work for a multinational or a big bank, you actually don't get to become the CEO until like 25 years into your career. So there's really only 2 options if that's what you want. Either you get it, right? And you'll be briefly happy when you are the CEO. But as it takes 25 years to get there, you'll be miserable all along the way, right? Because your happiness depends on something that lies very far in the future. The other option is actually even worse. You wait for 25 years, you're miserable, right? And when you finally get to the finish line, they choose somebody else. So now you weren't only miserable for the first 25 years, you're going to feel bad for the rest of your life. So don't sweat it. As they say, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Instead, as my friend Paulo Gallo, the former chief HR officer at the World Economic Forum, often tells me, do this. Ask yourselves 3 questions when you take a job. Will you learn something new every day from your job? Will you be able to help other people? And do you love what the job is about? If those things check out, and of course you get paid well, I mean, come on, we have to get money in the bank, I think you're in good shape. So those are the 2 don'ts, all right? Don't rush, and don't try to become CEO. Now, let's get to the do's, because I'm not supposed to be here and only talk about what you can't and what you shouldn't do, right? All right, let's go. The first do explore the world. Again, I know that you've come from all over the world to study here in Boston, and maybe you want to stay. And I get it. It's a great town. The Red Sox won the World Series here last year when you were studying, right? Any fans? Well, let me bring you back to earth, okay? I saw the Sox play the Yankees last weekend in New York, and let's just say it doesn't look like they're going to win again this year, all right? All right. Joking aside, today is your commencement, and commencement means new beginning. So a new chapter starts, and you can write in it whatever you want. So why wouldn't you pursue a career in Addis Ababa, in Bangalore, or in Chengdu? I hear some people from Bangalore here. Why wouldn't you change industries or start something new, a new sector? I know many people who did that, and they actually were quite successful. One example is Jean-François van Boxmeer. He's the CEO of Heineken. He's been in Amsterdam, where the company is based, for over a decade. And he has a beautiful corner office that looks out right over the Amsterdam canals. It's really nice. But he wasn't always there. As a matter of fact, the first 10 years of his career, he spent in Gabon, Rwanda, and the Congo. Okay, great, in Central Africa. And I mean, I thought that was odd at first. I was like, okay, your colleagues are in New York and in London, and they probably have like the really glitzy offices, and you go to the coolest clubs at night, and what do you have? Well, what he told me is that, unlike them, he got to do everything in the company. He got to do finance, he got to do marketing, he got to deal with government, and the warmth of the people there, he said, he never found anywhere else. And he never wanted to move. I believe him, because when I visited him in Amsterdam, there was like a life-size painting that ran right behind him, and it showed villagers celebrating by Lake Kivu. So he really loves that place. So you see, what will make you stand out a decade from now, it's the breadth of your experience. It's the breadth of your experience, not the depth of your experience. And being a hard-working specialist, which is what we usually are when we start our careers, that will get you ahead in the first couple of years, sure. But it won't make the difference when you get at that higher level. Because then people will ask questions like, what languages do you speak? What's your cultural quotient, CQ? And what's the variety of situations you've dealt with? And when that happens, what is your answer? I took that message to heart. I started out, as I told you, as a consultant in Brussels at Bain & Company. But after 2 years, I left to pursue a degree in journalism at Columbia in New York. I did a couple of internships and short-term contracts. I went everywhere from Philadelphia to Zurich and to Berlin. And then, of course, I had that false start. But afterwards, I wrote before I was CEO. And I got a dream job at the World Economic Forum. And I write now about the global economy and the people who shape it. So it pays off. Do explore the world. The second do stay in touch with your network that's right here and help each other out. I found that most people who became CEO, they're actually not one-man or one-woman bands. They are members of a network. And in that network, they help each other out. One example, Oreed Kadish. She's the chairman. She's a woman. She first to be called chairman of Bain & Company. She's really known as the Iron Lady of consulting. I never got to speak to her when I worked at Bain. But she might have never gotten to Bain if it wasn't for some help that she needed from her network. She came to study here in Boston. She did her MBA here. But unlike most of you, or all of you, I should say, she didn't speak English when she first got here. And it was a really, really tough time for her. She almost gave up. And it was only because an American classmate of hers sort of said, hey, come on, we can do this together. We're a team. That she pulled through. And then that she could start her career. So you see, her network kept her going. And you too have a very strong network. I mean, you know it, right? This room. So you'd be surprised where your classmates end up. You'd be surprised who could be that first degree connection on LinkedIn, in the company you want to be in, or in the country you want to be in. So my advice is pay it forward. Add each other on LinkedIn. I mean, not right now, because there's a speech going on. But do it right after, and refer each other where you can. I do that too with the Belgian network. I know there's not many of you here, but I know there's one person on the stage, right? But the first CEO I interviewed, Paul Bulke, he was Belgian. I got through him to the alumni network. And he referred me to 2 other CEOs I talked to you about, Jean-François van Boxmeer of Heineken and Patrick de Masner of Adeco. They were 2 Belgians. And it was a Belgian woman who sent my CV to somebody at the World Economic Forum, which got the ball rolling there. What do you think about the Belgian network now, huh? Not too bad. But seriously, there are many networks that you're part of. So stay in touch with your contacts and help each other out. The third do. You ready for it? Do let 100 flowers blossom. Now, for those of you in the back who know history, I don't mean this like Mao. I mean it like my mentor at Bain, when he advised me on my future career. He said, plant a lot of seeds because you never know which one will turn into a beautiful flower. And he did that. He took up a board seat, for example, at a local museum, and he helped his dad out, who was a dentist. He helped him out with his accounting in his spare time. And I couldn't predict it, but today he runs a very successful company. Doing his father's accounting in his spare time made him realize there were a lot of dentists like him who worked alone and for whom accounting and the back office was like a distraction. So he now manages 30 dental offices, hundreds of dentists, and tens of thousands of clients. You see, it was worth to plant that extra seed. And, you know, he could always become the night guard at the museum if things go wrong, I guess. Anyway, I did the same thing in my life. I told you about that job I didn't like in New York. I was country manager for a European manufacturer. But on the sides, I planted some seeds too. I started to, or kept on writing stories as a freelance journalist. And I stayed in touch with the editors and the contacts that I had from before. And those little seeds that I planted and those little flowers that I maintained, they later on helped me get a press pass to Davos. That's where I met that Belgian too that sent my CV to the person there who was hiring. So do the same. Do plant a lot of seeds and nurture those little flowers. The fourth do, we're almost there. Do know that failure is a part of life, and that's okay. I learned this lesson from Rick Goings. He's been the CEO of Tupperware for the longest time, but he almost didn't finish high school. He came from a broken family, and by the time he was 17, he was quasi-homeless. To get by, he told me he took a job selling encyclopedia door-to-door, direct selling. And he would only make money if he sold any of them. But guess what? The sad reality, in 3 months of doing that job, he didn't sell a single set, made no money whatsoever. I mean, this wasn't just failure. This was abject failure, and his life depended on it. How he managed his life around is actually because somebody opened the door, a man, and he took pity in him. He was in the Navy, and he advised him to go in the Navy. No, he advised him to go in the Navy, like he had. You know, you'll get a good income, he said, food, a roof, and a proper training. So he did that, and obviously it worked out. But it goes to show you, everyone encounters tough times. And it's not like they say in Silicon Valley, all right? It's not fun to fail. You can't fail fast or fail forward. When you fail, you fall. And it sucks. It really sucks. So if this happens to you, try to find that person that can pick you up, like the guy who opened the door for Goings. And if you ever feel like a real failure, just remember this. The guy who couldn't direct sell an encyclopedia if his life depended on it, he now runs the largest direct selling company in the world, all right? So not to worry. But failure is a part of life, and that's okay. Just make sure to surround yourself well. And then my final do, and the most important one, do value your family. I had the good fortune of talking to Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz 2 hours ago. And he told me that he begins his economics classes every year by telling a joke. And the joke goes like this. The most important decision you'll make in your life is to choose the right parents. Get it? Well, it's a joke, but not really a joke, because his research reveals that the biggest success factor in life is actually the parents that you had. Now, you cannot choose your parents, but you can choose your partner. And you can choose how to raise your kids. Professor Stiglitz added one more thing. He also said you can also choose your job, because in your job, there's people that will work with you. And your family, the person you're with, your children, and the people that you work with, they form a community all together. And if you build strong communities, he said, you create a better society. And I would say that more than anything else I've said, or anything, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry, Professor Gonzalo, more than anything that you've learned in business school, may be the most important thing in your life. And one person who knows this from personal experience, I want to share that story with you, is Gail McGovern. She's the CEO of the American Red Cross. She started her career at AT&T, then called Bell, and she once faced, I would say, what is a daunting choice as a young manager. Go to a meeting with her child's kindergarten teacher, or stay for a work meeting with her CEO. That's a tough choice. And it took her all her courage, but she walked out on the CEO of AT&T. I have a hard stop at 11, she said. So I have to go see my daughter's kindergarten teacher. And she was devastated. She thought it was going to get her fired. She called her husband and she said, I think I'm fired. But guess what? The next day, the CEO comes by and he asks her, how did it go? And he shows her pictures of his grandchildren. So if you're blessed enough to have kids one day, nurture them as well as you can. I think that many of the people there in the back, your parents, will agree that there's nothing more gratifying than to see you guys succeed and get your diploma. Now, I know what you're thinking, parents. Not having to pay tuition fees after today is not a bad thing either, right? Let the kids bring in the money now. No. But if you don't have kids yet, take your time and choose the right partner. Be there for another, every step of the way. I promise you, it will give you more satisfaction in life than any contract, paycheck, or promotion. I know this from experience. My wife is here today, and she approves of this message. So value your family. That's it. Those are my 7 lessons for you. 2 don'ts and 5 do's. Let's recap. And then I want to tell you one final story to end. Don't rush. A career is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to become CEO. There's better goals in life. Do explore the world and do as many things as you can. Do stay in touch with each other and build on your network. Do plant 100 seeds until one becomes a beautiful flower. Do know that failure is a part of life, and that's okay. And do value your family. They're the only ones that matter. So, before I close, I want to share with you one final story. It's about my grandparents. They passed away 2 and 12 years ago, respectively. They never got a master's degree like us. My grandfather was a city clerk, and my grandmother, she was a teacher. But when they passed away, first my grandmother, and 2 years ago my grandfather, they had never spent a single day alone in their lives. Every day, one of their children would go visit them. In the end, my grandfather died at 99 years and 11 months of age. I know what you're thinking. 3 weeks shy he was of his 100th birthday. And I thought the same that you thought. What a shame. It would have been such an achievement. But guys, that's the wrong reasoning. I said it's as if my grandfather taught us a final lesson, going as he did just before. It's about the journey, not the destination. So, I wish you all a fantastic journey ahead, and that you may achieve all that you were hoping for. But remember, it's moments like these, with your loved ones right next to you and behind you, that you will remember as you go in life. So best of luck, and again, congratulations, class of 2019.